Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Since the start of the pandemic, no industry has faced financial hardship more than restaurants. The recently passed American Rescue Plan Act is making a considerable effort to save these businesses with more than $28 billion of federal money. But as our Ethan Burks reports, the help came too late for some local establishments.
The Standard Grain restaurant opened just north of Bloomington's downtown square with the goal of bringing a variety of new flavors into town. But then the most unforeseen events unfolded.
We opened 8 days before the pandemic, and of course you can't predict a pandemic, and there's nothing we could have done about that, but we opened full-fledged. We had a great first 2 weeks opening, fantastic sales, tons of people, great feedback from the community.
Without any notice, Bayer and her staff were vulnerable to the COVID-19 shutdown and economic collapse that American small businesses were facing everywhere.
We thought about delivery, it just wasn't going to work. We had such a small staff. It was really disheartening to have to let a few people go, but in order to survive, we had to do what we had to do.
Bayer says after a few months passed, business began to pick up. And from May through September, things weren't looking too bad. But then winter set in. COVID cases hit new highs, and business plummeted. Bayer and her team decided to close for the holidays and reopen in early 2021.
Our decision was based solely off the fact that we were planning on a PPP loan. And unfortunately, we did not qualify for that because we were not open in 2019 and could not show a loss for 2019.
The way the government and banks distribute loans is mostly based off of both past and projected revenues, which is something Standard Grain had neither of.
Many businesses, especially food businesses, live pretty close to the ground. They're not check to check, but there's just not a lot of cushion in food service operations.
The city of Bloomington launched its own program to help businesses struggling to stay afloat during the pandemic. The $2 million fund came out of the local food and beverage tax money that was set aside to build the new Monroe County Convention Center.
So initially we conceived of this as a bridge program to help get cash into the hands of local businesses while they awaited their larger federal support.
One of the longest standing local restaurants, Nick's English Hut, was one of the recipients of those loans.
When you're not expecting to go in debt and you are forced to go in debt and don't know how you can pay it because you don't have the revenue to equate to paying it back, it's scary.
Nick's has been a Bloomington staple for nearly a century, but Bright says that didn't make it any easier.
I tell you, everybody I talk to thought, oh, Nick's is okay, we're making a profit. I'm like, no, we haven't had a profit since last February. It's like, really? I said, yeah, it's devastating, guys. Restaurants are up the creek.
Bright says her restaurant revenue is down 50%, and it wasn't until last week that Nick's was approved for a second round of PPP loans.
I'm looking now at the end of this year, and I see a little light at the end of this dark tunnel for restaurants that have been able to partake in these loans and grants and be wise and spend more frugally.
Nick's has been given more than $1 million in loans and grants over the course of the past year. And with the weather warming up, Bright finally sees an opportunity to stay afloat without government assistance. Nick's and other downtown restaurants have the advantage of being able to use Kirkwood Avenue for more outdoor seating on the sidewalks and street to get more people down here to eat. This is a measure the city started last year and will continue this weekend for the foreseeable future. But for Bayer and her restaurant, it's too late. The timing and financial circumstances just didn't work out.
It's a hard market to find an opportunity, but I have complete faith that something will open and when the time is right.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ethan Burks.
The Independent Restaurant Coalition confirms the industry is slowly recovering, and even though business is still below pre-pandemic levels, Indiana is the top state in the Midwest in sales and revenue. Independently owned restaurants are expected to be eligible to apply for funds through the American Rescue Plan in early April. All bars and restaurants with fewer than 20 locations are able to apply.